Have you ever wondered what lies behind the police uniform? A symbol of trust, justice, and power. What if the very hands sworn to protect end up tearing lives apart? What if someone with a badge becomes a villain in disguise, or a victim of love and betrayal? Today's story isn't just a case, it's a haunting tale that shakes the very foundations of law and loyalty. And it all started with a simple phone call on a quiet Tuesday in the heart of India. The story begins in the serene town of Biaora in Rajgarh district, Madhya Pradesh, a place with dusty roads, crowded markets, and the presence of a police reserve line where Sub-Inspector Deepankar Gautam was posted. He wasn't just any officer. He was known for his intelligence, discipline, and ambition. Born in Karera, Shivpuri, he was the youngest of 4 siblings in a well-educated, respected family. His father, a retired postmaster, raised him with discipline and pride. Deepankar had dreams bigger than his uniform. He once aimed to become an IPS officer. In 2012, Deepankar joined the police force as a sub-inspector. But before that, he had cleared the MP teacher eligibility exam, trained briefly for CRPF, and even considered other civil service paths. However, destiny anchored him to the badge. He got married to Poonam Purohit in 2011, a government teacher in Uttar Pradesh. Although they were married, their jobs kept them in different cities. Poonam stayed in Karera while Deepankar lived alone in Biaora. On the morning of September 10, 2024, Deepankar followed his usual routine. He called his wife at noon, spoke casually about lunch, and carried on with work. By 3:10 p.m., he was riding his motorcycle past a petrol pump when a sudden crash changed everything. A speeding blue Hyundai Aura slammed into his bike. Witnesses nearby rushed to help. CCTV footage from the pump captured it all. His bike was crushed, and he was thrown onto the car's hood before collapsing on the road. Locals took him to the civil hospital. Doctors treated his injuries but warned that his condition was critical. He was immediately referred to Bhopal. His colleague and close friend, Sub-Inspector Subhash Dwivedi, witnessed the entire accident. He and others drove with Deepankar toward the city. But fate had other plans. Deepankar took his last breath near Kurawar village before reaching the hospital. It looked like a tragic accident. But what if it wasn't? Just 30 minutes later, at 3:45 p.m., the same blue Hyundai Aura arrived at the Dehat police station. Inside the vehicle were 2 people, the driver, Karan Singh Thakur, and a young woman sitting beside him, Pallavi Solanki. They appeared nervous, yet determined. They claimed they didn't mean to run him over. They said they panicked and fled, fearing mob violence, but they were here now, ready to confess. On the surface, it seemed like a responsible move. But behind this visit lay layers of secrets. Who was Pallavi Solanki? She wasn't just a bystander. She was a constable in the Madhya Pradesh police, posted at Pachori station. The car involved in the crash was registered in her name. She explained that Karan was her boyfriend, and he had been driving because she didn't want to risk breaking any rules. Since both were linked to law enforcement, they wanted to follow the process properly, or at least that's what they claimed. Meanwhile, Deepankar's family was informed. His father, brothers, and wife rushed to Biaora in disbelief. The department launched an official investigation, but things quickly grew murky. Who exactly were Karan and Pallavi? What was their connection to Deepankar? And why did this supposed accident feel too perfect? The truth unraveled like a twisted thread. Pallavi had a past, a complicated, dangerous past. She hailed from Kukshi in Madhya Pradesh and had always been sharp and ambitious. In 2018, she was selected as a police constable. But love disrupted her path. In 2016, she met Karan Singh Thakur, a local driver and fruit seller. Their bond grew despite coming from different social backgrounds. But society wasn't ready for their love. Karan's family supported the relationship, but Pallavi's did not. Her family feared his unstable income and lower caste status. Arguments escalated, and a village panchayat banned their contact. Both were forced apart. Pallavi joined the police, and Karan went back to work, heartbroken but still obsessed. In 2020, Pallavi agreed to marry someone else. Wedding cards were printed. The date was set. On December 2nd, she and her family went to offer the first wedding card at a temple beside the Narmada River, a ritual seeking divine blessings. But as they drove down the highway, a man on a bike overtook their car and stopped abruptly. It was Karan, armed, furious, and heartbroken. Pallavi stepped out to confront him, trying to keep calm. But before anyone could stop him, Karan pulled out a homemade pistol and fired. The bullet struck her neck. Then, without hesitation, he turned the gun on himself. Both were rushed to the hospital, barely alive. They survived. But something inside them had changed forever. Despite everything, after months of recovery, Pallavi returned to duty. Karan was jailed. Their lives were supposed to go separate ways. But love, or perhaps obsession, doesn't follow logic. 3 years later, just when life seemed back on track, the past returned. Second chances are rare, and some say they should never be given to those who once pointed a gun at you. But what if your heart refuses to let go? What if the same love that almost killed you pulls you back like a magnet? That's exactly what happened with Pallavi Solanki. After nearly dying at the hands of Karan Singh Thakur in 2020, you'd think she would never look back. But 3 years later, they weren't just talking again. They were living together. Pallavi had moved on after her recovery, or so it seemed. Her wedding had been called off, her fiancé vanished from her life, and Karan was behind bars. She was posted at Pachora police station, and life was getting back to normal. But deep down, loneliness lingered. Her fellow officer, Deepankar Gautam, posted just 40 minutes away in Biaora, became her unexpected companion. He was married, yes, but his wife lived elsewhere. Pallavi and Deepankar found comfort in each other. Something familiar, yet forbidden. Their connection grew stronger. They met often, sometimes in Biaora, sometimes in Pachora. Both lived alone. Both wore uniforms. Both hid secrets. But while Pallavi was slowly falling into this new bond, something from the past was crawling back. Karan Singh Thakur had been released on bail. 3 years may have passed, but his obsession with Pallavi never did. He had her name tattooed on his chest, a reminder of his madness. Once out, he began tracking her. He knew her posting, her daily routine, even her friends. And when he discovered her connection with Deepankar, it triggered something dark inside him. Karan confronted Pallavi. She tried to keep her distance, but he begged for a second chance. He reminded her of his love, the pain he endured, and the life they once imagined. Strangely, he didn't deny the crime. He said he shot her out of love. The logic was twisted, but the emotion was real. He showed her the tattoo again. He said, "I was ready to die for you." Doesn't that mean anything? It did. Somewhere in her heart, Pallavi still felt a strange loyalty to him. Over time, she let him in, slowly, secretly. They began meeting again. Soon, Karan was staying at her government quarters for 10 to 15 days at a time. They cooked together, laughed together, and to outsiders looked like a couple trying again. But inside Pallavi's world another name still existed: Deepankar. That secret didn't last long. Karan began noticing the signs. Her phone always busy, sudden absences, and half-truths. One day he followed her and discovered the truth. There was another man. And not just any man. A married sub-inspector, someone senior, someone powerful. Karan's blood boiled. On September 4th, 2024, an incident changed everything. A group of protesting farmers had gathered in Pachor, demanding higher soybean prices. Pallavi was deployed, and, coincidentally, Deepankar had also been sent there on special duty. After the chaos settled, Deepankar visited Pallavi's quarters. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, but Karan showed up, uninvited, burning with suspicion. The confrontation was explosive. Deepankar asked, "Who are you?" Karan replied, "I'm her husband." Pallavi froze. She had never told either of them the whole truth. This was the first time both lovers came face to face. Voices rose, accusations flew. When Pallavi tried to intervene, Karan slapped her in rage. Deepankar was stunned. He immediately called Pallavi's father and told him everything. Her family had no idea that Karan was back, let alone living with her again. That call sealed Deepankar's fate. From that moment on, Karan saw him as a threat. Pallavi was torn, one man she once loved, and another who now held her heart. But the damage was done. The triangle was no longer romantic. It was dangerous. In the days that followed, Pallavi tried to make peace with Deepankar. She traveled to Biaora and apologized for the scene. She told him everything, even about the 2020 incident. How Karan had nearly killed her. How he was back. How he had changed. Or so she hoped. But Deepankar wasn't buying it. He grew distant. He wanted to protect Pallavi, but he couldn't ignore the danger. He told her he would file a formal complaint. That if Karan crossed the line again, he would make sure the law took its course. Pallavi begged him to stay calm, but something inside her had shifted too. Her heart was now confused, two men pulling her in opposite directions. Meanwhile, Karan had made up his mind. He told Pallavi, "Fix a meeting. I want to talk to him, man to man." Pallavi hesitated, but eventually agreed. Maybe this was the only way to end the mess. Maybe the men could talk and walk away. But they didn't. On September 10th, Pallavi called Deepankar around 1:30 p.m. She said Karan wanted to talk. Deepankar resisted, but something made him agree. Maybe for closure, maybe to protect Pallavi. At 2:45 p.m. he called his wife. It was a normal conversation. Nothing sounded off. But then, at 3 p.m., he made one last call to his colleague, Sub-Inspector Subhash. His voice was shaky. "Reach the Dehat police station quickly. My life is in danger. I need to file a complaint." 10 minutes later, Deepankar was dead. He never made it to the police station. The blue Hyundai Aura, the one registered to Pallavi, had hit him hard. CCTV footage showed it wasn't just a crash. The car didn't even try to brake. It accelerated after impact. Deepankar was dragged on the hood for 30 feet before the car rammed into a divider. Pallavi and Karan suffered only minor injuries. And then they vanished. But not for long. Just 30 minutes later, they arrived at the Dehat police station, pretending it was an accident, claiming they panicked. But the police weren't convinced. Too many things didn't add up. A uniform commands respect. A badge symbolizes truth. But what happens when love turns blind and duty is drowned in desire? The death of Sub-Inspector Deepankar Gautam wasn't just another road accident. It was a collision of broken hearts, dangerous love, and secrets no one dared to speak out loud. Now the truth had to rise, piece by piece, lie by lie. After the so-called accident on September 10th, the police investigation picked up speed. Deepankar's colleague, Subhash Dwivedi, had received a chilling call from him just minutes before the crash. "My life is in danger. I need to file a complaint," Deepankar had said. The timing was too perfect. The suspects, Pallavi and Karan, surrendered voluntarily, but their story didn't sit right. The car was examined. Both the brakes and the steering were fully functional. If this had been an accident, why didn't the driver stop or swerve? CCTV footage confirmed the vehicle accelerated even after hitting Deepankar's bike. The most disturbing part: Deepankar wasn't thrown off immediately. His body rolled over the bonnet and was dragged for more than 30 feet before the car slammed into a divider. At this point, officers knew this wasn't recklessness, this was rage. Cold, precise, and personal. The motor transport team inspected both vehicles. Nothing indicated mechanical failure. Then came the big reveal: phone records. The last incoming call to Deepankar came from none other than Pallavi Solanki. And even more shocking, she had been inside the car that killed him. Suddenly, her innocence started crumbling. But why would a police constable, someone who nearly lost her life to love, choose to sit beside the same man who pulled the trigger years ago? Why would she bring Karan back, knowing the chaos he had caused? The answers began to surface during intense interrogations. At first, Pallavi kept her story straight. She claimed it was all an accident. But when the pressure mounted, she broke. In front of senior officers, she confessed the full story: a twisted web of love, betrayal, and deadly jealousy. She admitted that Karan had never truly left her heart, that after he got out of jail, he came searching for her. At first, she resisted, but slowly she gave in. He promised to change. He said he couldn't live without her. And maybe, just maybe, she believed him. But when Deepankar entered the picture, the triangle reignited. Pallavi never imagined it would lead to bloodshed. Or perhaps, deep down, she knew it might. Karan, on the other hand, had no doubts. He didn't want to share Pallavi. He couldn't stand the thought of her with another man. The fight at Pallavi's quarters on September 4th, when Karan slapped her and clashed with Deepankar, had sealed his decision. This wasn't just a love story anymore. It was war. That's when the plan began. They would invite Deepankar to a neutral spot, a highway bypass near a market area. Pallavi would call him, soften him up, and convince him to talk. Karan would wait in the car, the same car Pallavi had gifted him to drive. If Deepankar agreed to back off, they'd let it go. But if not, they had a backup plan. On the day of the incident, everything unfolded with eerie precision. Pallavi made the call. Deepankar arrived on his bike. The three spoke briefly. Voices were raised. Karan asked him to leave Pallavi alone. Deepankar refused, called them manipulators. As he turned his bike to leave, he warned them, "I'm going straight to the police station. I'll file a complaint, and I'll make sure both of you are investigated." That was enough. Karan stepped on the accelerator. Even after Deepankar fell, Karan didn't stop. He kept driving until the bike was twisted, and the man who once wore the badge with pride lay lifeless on the road. And yet, they didn't run. They drove straight to the station, hoping their rehearsed version would pass. But truth has a way of bleeding through. The case shook the police department. Senior officers visited the scene. Locals were questioned. Every eyewitness confirmed. The car didn't slow down. The accident was deliberate. Further digging revealed that Deepankar's career had its dark corners. A few years earlier, he was accused of misconduct involving a woman. Arrested briefly, though acquitted later due to lack of evidence. Some believed he was innocent. Others weren't so sure. Even his wife claimed he had been framed. But one thing was clear. Deepankar had made enemies in uniform. Whether that played a role in his fate, no one could say for sure. Eventually, Pallavi and Karan were arrested. During custodial interrogation, Pallavi kept changing her statements, sometimes blaming Karan entirely, sometimes saying she feared Deepankar, sometimes saying she just wanted peace, but the evidence said otherwise. In March 2025, Pallavi applied for bail. Her lawyer claimed she wasn't driving the car, that Karan alone acted on impulse. But Deepankar's legal team argued she was the key, the one who set up the meeting, who knew the risks, who sat silently as her ex-lover turned the car into a weapon. The court denied her bail. As of now, both Pallavi and Karan remain behind bars. The case is ongoing in Sessions Court. But beyond the courtroom drama, there's a chilling lesson in this tragedy. A reminder that behind the most respected faces can hide the most unpredictable emotions. Love can heal. Love can blind. And sometimes, love can kill. And now, the question no one can answer with certainty. Was Pallavi a victim of toxic love? Or the mastermind who used two men until one of them had to die? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Your thoughts could reveal the truth that still hides behind this uniform.